How do you choose the most valuable user story? Oh, if ever there was an "it depends" question, there we are. And it does depend. Without context, I don't know. Stick it into a random number generator and take whatever it comes out. This is really about understanding value to the product, value to the organisation. What we need to do is help product owners and organisations identify what is valuable to them, and in a way that they can articulate to others. Very often, how do you choose? The honest answer is the product owner goes on gut feel. It may or may not work for you. But it worries me, particularly in the large organisations that I tend to work with that have more of a political flavour about them. How do you defend because I felt like it? It's really hard to defend. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not where I'd want to start. So instead, what I want to do is start understanding what are the business drivers, what's the whole organisations, what's their drivers, what are they aiming for, what do they measure as their way of understanding success. How do they flow down into the product? You're going to see overlaps, but you may see a few new ones appear. Those drivers, the product drivers, are what I'm interested in. For each of these items, how do they influence, or how do we think they would influence if built, these drivers? Which of these drivers is more important than the others? In truth, what I end up doing very often is building a matrix. For each item in the backlog, it is scored against each of these drivers, and you may have half a dozen drivers. And those various drivers are weighted relative to each other so that we know that at the moment getting more customers on board the platform is way more important than monetizing it, because we're in growth and it's about grabbing market share, not about funding. And that's great, and we can look at stuff and it will naturally re-rank itself as a spreadsheet saying these are the things that will help you deliver growth. And as a product evolves and it matures and business needs change, those drivers are going to shift in relative importance, and over a longer term those drivers are going to change, and we can naturally start seeing and resorting that backlog based on this information. So for me, how do I choose which one is most important? Honestly, I don't. What we do instead is we look at each of them relative to all the others and determine how impactful they will be on what matters to the product, to the business. Okay? And then let an algorithm give me the first sort. Simply say, based on what's important today, on what we could do, this is the most important thing. But I'm not done there, because don't leave your life up to a spreadsheet. Okay? What you want to do then is work with people and sense check it. If that's right, okay, because that's really priority. Developers, stakeholders, whoever needs to be involved in the conversation. If we do that, is there anything else? This is that difference between priority and ordering coming into play. Item number 1 is going to take you 2 weeks to deliver. Okay, so if you start today, in 2 weeks' time you're done. Great, it's the most important thing, get cracking. A little bit of thinking, a little bit of looking ahead, your developers may spot item number 9. It's going to take about a day's worth of work to get done, and it's going to reduce item number 1's time from 10 days to 5. Pure priority, you start on item number 1 and in 10 days' time you're done. Ordering for delivery, putting some insight over the top of those spreadsheets, those algorithmic approaches, okay, means that you're delivering in 6 days, the most important thing. Because you didn't go purely in priority order. You thought about dependencies, about benefits to delivering out of order, okay, with intelligent people who know what they're doing. So for me, how do you determine it? You can wing it. Lots of product owners do, but I prefer a bit of rigor behind it. I prefer to think about what's important to this product, how does each item stack against those importances, and let a level of good old-fashioned spreadsheets help us support that decision, so that not only can we be clear with each other why we've made that decision, but we can support it under challenge. When a senior stakeholder says, yes, but I want this, we can have a conversation. Not about whether or not it's more important than that other thing, but how it reflects, how it impacts those business drivers. And if they've got a good defense for why it's more impactful, the algorithm will naturally promote it up the tree. Okay? And for me, particularly in large organisations that have these politics and things, it sets the product owner up for a much stronger position to make difficult decisions, to say things that aren't necessarily going to be welcomed by people who are used to getting what they want. Our role is building the best product for the organisation, not the best product for those with the loudest voices. Okay? Deciding what's important is therefore a tricky thing to do well, because we're always working after the fact, but one that with some rigour, with some thought and with some diligence we can do a good job of. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.